ẹ̀fọ́ rírú.
Lákòókò Ramadan yìí, Kivo non-dairy creamer ń darapọ̀ mọ́ gbogbo ẹbí jákèjádò Nàìjíríà nínú àdúrà àròjinlẹ̀ àti ìrẹ́pọ̀.
Láti sàárì sí ìṣínú, ṣe àfikún adùn sí ife tíì, kọfí, custard tàbí ògì pẹ̀lú ìṣerere Kivo tó kì pọ́pọ́.
Tí oòrùn bá ti wọ̀, tí àwọn olólùfẹ́ kórajọ fún ìṣínú, jẹ́ kí àkókò kọ̀ọ̀kan ní ìtumọ̀, kó rọrùn, kó sì dùn sí i pẹ̀lú Kivo non-dairy creamer. Kivo non-dairy creamer jẹ́ kí Ramadan yìí jẹ́ àkókò ìṣerere.
The time is 6 o'clock on Oluyole 98.5 FM.
The news.
Good evening. This is Jamila Ilegbede. Reading with me is
Josephine Oluwabome. Good evening.
Bringing you Newscope, our daily news program of in-depth reports, interviews and commentaries. First, their highlights. FG assures of safety of Nigerians amid Middle East crisis.
Oyo State pilgrims return amid Middle East tensions.
Abducted Ondo worshippers regain freedom.
On the foreign scene, Iran mourns 165 schoolgirls, staff killed in U.S.-Israel airstrike.
Now the details. The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, says the federal government is working to ensure the safety of Nigerians in the Middle East amid the crisis in the region. NIDCOM's Director of Media, Public Relations and Protocols, Abdurrahman Balogun, gave the assurance in a statement today. The Commission said Nigerian authorities are monitoring the situation and have received calls from a few Nigerians in Qatar, UAE, and Iran inquiring about preparations for evacuations when it becomes necessary. On Saturday, the federal government advised Nigerians in the Middle East, especially in Iran, to take extra security precautions in the wake of tensions in the region. The US and Israel launched strikes on Iran in the early hours of Saturday, but the Iranian authorities retaliated and later carried out strikes in some Gulf countries.
As tension continues to rise between the United States, Israel and Iran, global markets are already feeling the pressure. International development expert Dr. Adeboye Adeyemo advises caution, noting that the escalating conflict could trigger instability in energy prices and cause wider economic disruptions. BCOS reporter Bimisola Adebayo takes a closer look at the ongoing confrontation and its impact on global markets.
The crisis involving the United States, Israel and Iran has escalated into a broader regional conflict. Missile strikes, casualties and damage to key facilities, including oil shipping routes, have been reported. Oil prices are climbing sharply, fueling fears of inflation across the world. Experts warn that higher energy costs could lead to increased prices for food, transportation and manufactured goods. For Nigeria, the impact is mixed. As an oil-producing nation, rising crude prices could boost government revenue and foreign exchange earnings in the short term. An international development expert, Dr. Adeboye Adeyemo, told BCOS News that the increase in oil prices may provide temporary fiscal relief and help strengthen external reserves. However, Nigerians are already feeling the effects as petrol prices have jumped from 825 naira to 935 naira per litre within 24 hours, increasing transportation costs and putting more pressure on households.
The regulation does not mean it's going to be selling at a local price, because
crude oil has an international price, and it is that international price that it buy the crude oil that also going to determine some price that is going to be selling. Though we know that there's an arrangement with the federal government that it will be paid in naira. At a point in time it was stopped, then at another point in time it was revamped. I'm not even sure the status right now, but what is important that we need to know is that the Dangote refinery is a profit-making manufacturing organization, so they are going to sell at an international price, because it's not only in Nigeria alone that they source crude petrol, they source internationally, and it has to reflect their cost of production. So it's not a question of being charitable or I like people or so. No, it's just what the price is. The only aspect is that if it's getting some from Nigeria, like the previous agreement that they had, where it would be paid in naira, that to some extent can help mitigate just slightly the price at which they can fix it. But honestly speaking, Dangote refinery should be considered and seen as an international venture.
Dr. Adeyemo also warns that if the conflict continues, it could disrupt global trade and slow economic growth. He advised the government to invest in critical infrastructure such as electricity, dams, and support for small and medium-scale enterprises to sustain economic reforms and cushion long-term risks.
We need to ensure that there are certain infrastructural development in terms of the energy, the dams, and encouraging small-scale producers, and so on and so forth. So it's all about, we've been talking about diversification, but it's not as if Nigeria economy is not diversified, but we need inputs, cheaper input in terms of energy supply, electricity, to ensure that the economy continues to grow. For me right now, our problem is infrastructural deficits.
While Nigeria may benefit from higher oil prices in the short term, long-term risks remain. Observers say it is crucial for the Nigerian government to plan carefully and implement stronger policies to protect the economy as the crisis unfolds. Bimsola Adebayo, BCOS News.
100 Christian pilgrims from Oyo State have returned safely to Ibadan after completing their pilgrimage to Israel and Jordan, despite tensions arising from the US, Israel and Iran conflict during their stay. Staff reporter Adebayo Abdulrafi was at the Total Garden office of the Oyo State Pilgrims Welfare Board Christian Wing, where the pilgrims were warmly received by family members and loved ones.
For many Christians, visiting the Holy Land remains a lifetime spiritual aspiration. Walking through places where Jesus Christ lived and performed miracles over 2,000 years ago. However, for the Oyo State contingent, the pilgrimage turned into a mix of devotion and anxiety as tensions escalated into open conflict during their stay in Israel. Speaking with BCOS News at the Pilgrims Welfare Board office shortly after their arrival, the chairman of the Oyo State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Christian Wing, Bishop Ademola Moradeyo, expressed gratitude to God for a safe return.
We thank God that we went on pilgrimage and we visited about more than 50 holy sites. You see them, you are happy and they are in joyous mood. But our own is different. This is a pilgrimage, in the midst of war, because we saw what really happened. Not that by say, we saw how missiles were lifting up, rocket going up. We were there. We also witnessed, and we also took refuge. We more than 8 times we rushed to safe protected area. At times we found ourselves under bunkered.
Some of the pilgrims, including Pastor Biodun Pokuola and Dr. Yabode Olusomi, described the experience as frightening, recounting how they witnessed missile movements across the skies. Despite the tense moments, they noted that the pilgrimage remained spiritually fulfilling as they prayed and visited historic biblical sites they had previously only read about in the scriptures.
For the first time in my life, it was terrible. We couldn't sleep. And the moment they release the measles, we begin to run helter-skelter. And even the old men and women amongst us will be running because they are reserved and safe places. So those are the places we run to hide. So we were running there just to hide for those things not to affect us. But it was a terrible experience. But we thank God. We believe in God and we trust that God that took us there will not allow evil to happen to us.
It's a wonderful experience that one is able to see the things, to touch the places, to put your feet on the ground, and to see that these things that happened more than 2,000 years ago, we are able to go there. The leadership provided by the bishop was excellent. He was not only a leader, he was a father to us, making sure that everybody was okay. We want to thank the governor for making it possible for us to be comfortable. We know that it was not what we paid was not, what we used for this journey.
While commending the hospitality and arrangements made for the pilgrims in the Holy Land, the executive assistant to the governor on administration, Reverend Idowu Ogedengbe, applauded the Oyo State government for ensuring adequate logistics and safety measures throughout the trip.
It's a life-transforming and life-changing experience. Places we've got to read in the scriptures came alive. We saw all the footsteps, the pathways that Jesus Christ took while he was here on earth. And even some of the old patriarchs, men like Moses, men like John the Baptist, we saw some of the sites showcasing what they did. And that to us was a means of reviving our faith. The organizers of the tours were very friendly, they were very hospitable, and all our people have good stories to tell.
The Oyo State contingent had departed Nigeria on Sunday and was already visiting scheduled holy sites before the conflict escalated the following Saturday. No case of abscondment or casualty was recorded during the trip. The pilgrims, who now bear the title of Jerusalem pilgrims, have since reunited with their families and returned to their respective towns across Oyo State. Adebayo Abdurrafi, BCOS News.
The 5 worshippers abducted at a branch of the Celestial Church of Christ, CCC, in Oluyole local government area of Ondo State have regained their freedom. The 4 worshippers were released on Monday evening at Ilado community after their families reportedly paid a ransom of 9 million naira to the kidnappers. Family source revealed that the kidnappers initially demanded 40 million naira to secure the release of each of the victims. However, the ransom was later reduced to 9 million naira after a series of negotiations between the relatives of the victims and the kidnappers.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Ibadan. 5 security officers have been arrested and are set to face prosecution over their alleged involvement in a security breach at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport on the 12th February 2026 in an incident authorities say involved former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai. In a statement made available to press today, authorities confirmed that the arrest followed a joint investigation into what was described as a serious compromise of airport security protocols. According to the statement, the investigation was conducted by the Department of State Services, the Nigeria Immigration Service, the Nigeria Customs Service, and the Federal Ministry of Aviation. The statement further confirmed that the suspects had been handed over to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission for prosecution. It added that other personnel from the NIS and NCS whose involvement was deemed non-criminal will still face consequences.
Residents and citizens of Oyo State should see themselves as major stakeholders in bringing sanity to the environmental situation in the state. The Oyo State Commissioner for Environment and Natural Resources, Engineer Ademola Aderinto, stated this while featuring on BCOS Kutuhai Current Affairs program. Our man, Bode Akinjola, compiled excerpts from the program, but this report is presented by Mary Adedapo.
The Tuesday Current Affairs live television program, Kutuai, was a time to dissect the issue of environment and cleanliness in Ibadan, the state capital. Featuring on the program, the State Commissioner of Environment and Natural Resources, Engineer Ademola Aderinto, noted that attitudinal change is needed in Ibadan. He added that human attitude towards the environment is causing more to climate change.
The whole of each stakeholder is to understand that they are actually stakeholders. Stakeholders don't fold their arms. Stakeholders, they see themselves as major players. And environment is one of the ministries in the state where it concerns everybody. Nobody is left out. So long you are a citizen or you are a resident of your state, you are a stakeholder. Report anything happening around you, tell people, instruct them to desist from any act that violates environmental law or even any law, anything against the rule of law of the state.
The State Commissioner frowned at dumping of refuse on waterways, road median and misuse of dustbin provided for market by households. Engineer Aderinto added that the government will enforce strict penalties for environmental offenders and will consider shaming of environmental lawbreakers or culprits.
Market people, market leaders, we've been reaching out to you. We have a strategy already that within the next 6 months, all markets in Oyo State will be sanitized. Please embrace it with us. I promise you, if you align with us, within the next 5 to 6 months, all markets in Oyo State will be fully sanitized. And one of the things we are bringing back is the cleanest market of the month. We used to have it some time back. Now we're bringing it back, and maybe when we say cleanest market, maybe we are also going to be shaming the dirtiest markets, so that everybody would know that they have to sit up.
On the issue of open defecation, the State Commissioner of Environment warned residents and citizens to desist from such act. On the entourage of the State Commissioner of Environment to the BCOS were top management staff of the ministry led by the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Sunday Ojelabi.
On the foreign scene, Iran has held a mass funeral for 165 schoolgirls and staff killed in what it has described as the United States Israeli attack on a girls' school in the southern city of Minab. Foreign Desk Editor Folashade Akitola compiled the details and other stories as presented by Bimbo Akombi.
Saturday's strike came on the first day of the joint US and Israeli attacks on Iran. It was the deadliest incident in the campaign against Tehran so far. The Israeli military said it was not aware of any Israeli or US attacks in that area. Throughout its genocidal war on Gaza, however, Israel has repeatedly denied responsibility for deadly attacks on Palestinian civilians, only to later backtrack when evidence emerged, often describing such incidents as accidental. The attack in Minab has been condemned by UNESCO and Nobel Peace Prize-winning education activist Malala Yousafzai. Deliberately attacking an educational institution, hospital, or any other civilian structure is a war crime under international humanitarian law. On Monday, Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman Ismail Baghei said the two countries continue to indiscriminately strike residential areas, sparing neither hospitals, schools, Red Crescent facilities, or cultural monuments. In the meantime, Israeli and US forces continue their assault on Iran, including a strike on the Iranian state broadcaster, as the death toll rises to 787 people. The Israeli army also intensified air attacks on Lebanon and has launched a new ground incursion into the country's south. Saudi authorities say 2 drones hit the United States Embassy in Riyadh, causing a limited fire and minor damage. U.S. President Donald Trump says the military campaign against Iran could last about 4 weeks, saying that Washington will do whatever it takes to destroy Tehran's missile and nuclear capabilities. Iran has struck energy infrastructure across the Gulf, sending global oil and gas prices sharply higher. Qatar's state-owned petroleum company has suspended all LNG production after 2 of its facilities were hit. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps says the Strait of Hormuz, through which 1/5 of the world's oil consumption passes, is now closed, and warns that any vessel attempting to pass through the waterway will be attacked. Iran continues to attack sites across Israel, with the Israeli military reporting missile interceptions over West Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Eilat. At least 10 people have been killed in Israel since Saturday. And lastly, the United States has imposed sanctions on Rwanda's military and 4 of its top officials for direct operational support of the M23 rebel group that has seized large swaths of territory in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Rwanda has long rejected allegations from the DRC, the United Nations and Western powers that it backs M23 and its affiliated Congo River Alliance, which captured key cities in the mineral-rich East, including the capitals of North and South Kivu provinces last year. The U.S. Department of the Treasury said on Monday that rebels' gains would not have been possible without Rwandan backing. The U.S. State Department separately added that M23 continued to capture territories even late last year in clear violation of a U.S.-mediated agreement. U.S. President Donald Trump in December brought together the leaders of Rwanda and the DRC to sign a peace deal, predicting a great miracle. But just days afterwards, the State Department noted the M23 captured the key Congolese city of Uvira. Bimbo Akambi, BCOS News.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the main points. The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Newscope, says the federal government is working to ensure the safety of Nigerians in the Middle East amid the crisis in the region.
100 Christian pilgrims from Oyo State have returned safely to Ibadan after completing their pilgrimage to Israel and Jordan, despite tensions arising from the U.S., Israel, and Iran conflict during their stay.
The 5 worshippers abducted at a branch of the Celestial Church of Christ, CCC, in our local government area of Ondo State have regained their freedom.
And on the foreign scene, Iran has held mass funerals for 165 schoolgirls and staff killed in what it has described as a United States-Israeli attack on a girls' school in the southern city of Minab.
And that's all from Newscope Desk for now. It was packaged by Folashade Akitola and delivered by
Jamila Elegbede. Good evening.
And Josephine Oluwabome. Thanks for listening. Do not forget to tune in for the Yoruba version at 8 p.m. Good evening.
Lákòókò Ramadan yìí, Kivo non-dairy creamer ń darapọ̀ mọ́ gbogbo ẹbí jákèjádò Nàìjíríà nínú àdúrà àròjinlẹ̀ àti ìrẹ́pọ̀.
Láti sàárì sí ìṣínú, ṣe àfikún adùn sí ife tíì, kọfí, custard tàbí ògì pẹ̀lú ìṣerere Kivo tó kì pọ́pọ́.
Tí oòrùn bá ti wọ̀, tí àwọn olólùfẹ́ kórajọ fún ìṣínú, jẹ́ kí àkókò kọ̀ọ̀kan ní ìtumọ̀, kó rọrùn, kó sì dùn sí i pẹ̀lú Kivo non-dairy creamer. Kivo non-dairy creamer jẹ́ kí Ramadan yìí jẹ́ àkókò ìṣerere.
Èyíkéyìí ọkọ̀ tó bá ń wà. Ó nílò ààbò tó péye. Máa dágunlá jẹ́ kó jẹ́ mobile. Níbi ibikíbi tó bá wà lọ fún ojúlówó ó yá sọ pé. jẹ́ kó jẹ́ mobile ní ṣúlẹ̀ ọjọ́. jẹ́ kó jẹ́ mobile.
lọ pẹ̀lú ojúlówó.
jẹ́ kó jẹ́ mobile.
mọdé wọ̀nyí ẹ̀ ṣọ́ra fún ná ìgbẹ̀rún la wà ẹ̀ ṣọ́ra fún ná bí ní bá fẹjú mọ́ èèyàn lọ́wọ́ tán apá ò ní lè ka pẹ̀lẹ́pẹ̀lẹ́ tọwọ́ yín pẹ̀lẹ́pẹ̀lẹ́ tọwọ́ yín o ààbò ara ẹni lààbò ìlú ẹ má fi ná dàtà.
lákòókò Ramadan yìí Kivo non-dairy creamer ń darapọ̀ mọ́ gbogbo ẹbí jákèjádò Nàìjíríà nínú àdúrà àròjinlẹ̀ àti ìrẹ́pọ̀.
láti sàárì sí ìṣínú ṣe àfikún adùn sí ife tíì kọfí custard tàbí ògì pẹ̀lú ìṣerere Kivo tó kì pọ́pọ́.
tí oòrùn bá ti wọ̀ tí àwọn olólùfẹ́ kórajọ fún ìṣínú jẹ́ kí àkókò kọ̀ọ̀kan ní ìtumọ̀ kó rọrùn kó sì dùn sí i pẹ̀lú Kivo non-dairy creamer. Kivo non-dairy creamer jẹ́ kí Ramadan yìí jẹ́ àkókò ìṣerere.
TS Charity gbogbo ẹni fẹ́ ṣàríyá o gbogbo ẹni fẹ́ ṣàjọyọ̀.